I am so delighted that you are listening to this. I am Jenni Ho-Huan, and I love journeying with people to get to a place of safety, security, and satisfaction. To get the most benefit from what I'm going to share, please have a notebook with you. Because along the way, I will pause to ask you some questions, and I want you to be able to jot down your thoughts and your responses, which you can take with you to ponder further. So a notebook, handphone, or something to record with will be really good. What do you do when you see that the battery is low? That's right, we hurriedly look for a place to charge it up. Many of us carry some kind of charging wire or power bank to make sure that this thing can last. Self-care is ensuring that our batteries don't go flat. This can happen in two ways. The first is learning to read the signals from our bodies, our emotions, our thoughts that tell us that our battery is depleting. The other is to know how to find a way to remain plugged in so that our battery level never gets so low that it may just run out. Life is not a bed of roses, and parenting in particular is often a roller coaster of highs and lows, blind corners and surprises. Whether you are a new parent or an older one, an extrovert or introvert, a stay-home parent or working full-time, parenting fast-tracks us to some of life's hardest realities, including we don't really have control. It is hard to become an expert. It's hard to have control. Things don't go according to what we plan. Why is my baby still crying when I've done everything that parenting site told me to? Why is my teenager so sullen and rude towards me when I've given him a solid, comfortable life? And when you think you've mastered your parenting, now I know what to do, they will grow into another phase, and another season of learning is upon you. Control and perfection are illusions in parenting. The most common thing we hear parents say is how tired they are. You think you are tired with a newborn. Wait till he learns to walk. Then he talks back and asks you a million why. Then there's school. So much information to navigate, not to mention your own dreams and hopes for your dear child. Then comes the teen years, which is now, there's tween years, and then there's adolescent. It's like a whole full decade of mood swings, anger outbursts, disagreements, and more. Add to this mix mom guilt and dad guilt, the comparison trap, the fear of missing out, not to mention other things going on in our lives, like our own growth and careers, other relationships and expectations. Parenting is not for the faint of heart, but we do get faint-hearted indeed, and our battery gets depleted fast. And then, when that happens, we can start to give away, bit by bit, what we hoped, believed, and are willing to work for. We can start to settle for a family life that's so far less than what we envisioned. We can become functional, communicate at the surface, bury unresolved issues, and carry a big hole in our heart because we are too tired. That is why self-care is so important for you. You don't need to live with this hole in your heart. You can find the resources to be the parent you believe is best, the parent you deeply want to be. It starts not by comparing yourself with others, but by being yourself. When my children were younger, as a writer, I spent hours reading and writing my feelings and thoughts to clarify what I want, what is important. And I offered some of that I learned on my blog, and those pieces I chose to title, "You Are the Best Parents for Your Children." Yes, some days we think someone else should do our job because we want a break. And sometimes we even suspect that someone else could do it better. No one else can. No one else can do it better than you. As long as you are a healthy, functional adult, you are the best person to parent your child. As parents, we have at least one, if not two bonds with our child. The bond of biology and the bond of commitment. These are strong bonds and not easily broken. These bonds also mean that your children thrive as you thrive. There may be exceptions to the rule, but for almost all of us, this holds true. To the degree that you are healthy emotionally, physically, and spiritually, your children will benefit from the family atmosphere that you create and the example that you set. You know what they say? Kids don't do what we say. They do what we do. Your children thrive as you thrive. There is a popular illustration for self-care. You know, the one about the mask. You know, when the airplane is going through turbulence and the mask falls down, you are told to put on your mask first before you attend to your child. I don't really like that because that situation is an emergency. It's about surviving a threat. Also, that oxygen mask only gives you a few minutes of oxygen, allowing the pilot to bring the plane down to a lower altitude. I don't want you to live in a state of emergency or to merely survive. I want you to enjoy the parenting journey and to reap the fruits of all that you are seeking to sow into your children and family. So what is self-care? Self-care is taking steps to protect your vision for your life, the kind of person you want to be, the quality of relationships you want to have. Your life vision includes the kind of person you want to be, and then the quality of relationships you want to have, especially with those closest to you. Your ambitions, career, and all are important, but studies have shown us two things. Nobody at the end of their life wish they work harder, and everything in the end boils down to our relationships. So right now, I would like you to choose 3 words to describe the person you want to be. Words like thoughtful, sincere, wise, courageous. Just the first 3 words that come to your mind. I'm going to do that too. My 3 words are wise, hopeful, and healing. I want to be a person who is stable and wise. Someone with a positive outlook. And I want people to feel well and be more authentic when they are around me. What are your 3 words? These 3 words give you a glimpse of the kind of person you want to be. As you look at these words, you will feel a mix of things. You know, some excitement, some anxiety, some joy, or maybe even some sadness. And this is normal. You see, we are imperfect beings and we have good days and bad days. These 3 words will help to give you a compass. The person you want to be is not an achievement. It is a journey of maturation. Just as we look at our children and see that they are growing in some ways but still immature in other ways, we are the same. So please don't do this with a critical spirit. It is helpful once in a while to ask yourself what kind of person you want to be and let that propel you and guide you to keep growing. Just as we have to create structure and pay attention to the developmental milestones of our children, we have to do the same for our vision of life and the quality of our relationships. You can find a ton of practical tips on self-care, and they typically group them under physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and social. But I want to distill it and ask you to work on these 3 self-care practices, which are easy to do and they are personable for you. These 3 practices are so simple, they are also interrelated, and they are easy to implement to help you to thrive as you grow into the person you want to be. It will then impact the quality of your relationships as you do them regularly. Are you ready? The first practice is gratitude. Yes, be grateful for the times when you display the traits you want. You know that day when you chose to hold your tongue and not push or nag? That's wisdom. Or that time when you were so tired, yet you sat with your child to complete a piece of work or listen to their story? That is compassion. Or when you wrote that letter to the teacher and chose kind words to state your concern, but also to be supportive of the teacher. That is constructive. Each day you will no doubt be a bit of the person you can be and want to be. So at lunch break or at bedtime, take a moment to give thanks. You can keep a gratitude journal on your phone or by your bed. We typically give thanks for things that happen, like a helpful colleague or a child getting a good grade. That's great, but I'm suggesting that you give thanks too for your own self, for your efforts and your growth. That is different, isn't it? We tend to be very hard on ourselves, so being grateful for the small steps we take, for the ways we grow is very important. It's like a mini celebration of your life, and it will help you to be more positive and hopeful. Gratitude is our first self-care practice. The second practice is the slow deep breath. Oh yes, this is so simple and so powerful. You have probably heard the advice to count to 10 when you are angry. I prefer to notice what I call the pre-anger state. When I sense my irritation and frustration or tiredness building up, the slow deep breath physiologically centers you, increases your oxygen intake, helps you to slow down and get clear. So when you feel agitation building up, when there's too much information to process, or you are worried that you have forgotten something, take a slow deep breath. Inhale the gift of life and exhale the stresses of life. The wonderful thing about the slow deep breath is that it's so easy to do. You can combine it with your exercise. You can do it while you're trying to feed your fussy toddler, and you can do it with your gratitude exercise. As you breathe in, you can give thanks, and as you breathe out, you can release the tension. Let's try it now. Take a slow deep breath in through your nose, and then feel your lungs out, and then breathe it out through your mouth slowly. As you're breathing in, you can say, I'm so glad I'm taking care of myself. And as you breathe out, you can release, I'm releasing the worry I have about. Gratitude, the slow deep breath, and finally, the life-giving way. Every single one of us is unique and experiences joy and liveliness quite differently. You may need nature or quiet, soothing scents or a creative activity, a long hug or a good conversation. Take a moment and think of 2 things that make you feel alive, that lifts your mood and makes you smile. Practice number 3 is to include life-giving ways into your routines. If your answer to my question just now about a life-giving way is to take an exotic vacation or something extensive like that, you need to think outside the box. Parenting involves your presence, so your life-giving way has to happen while you are parenting. Allow me to share a few of mine. When my firstborn was breastfeeding, I decided to make that a life-giving way, even in the wee hours of the morning. I have to do it anyway, and being impatient will probably make her fast more. So I decided to enjoy the bonding, the fact that I'm giving life to my child. I learned to enjoy it, to relish it, and not to rush it. As they grew, I would have pockets of time when I would slow down to have fun with my child. I realized that when I stopped multitasking and paid attention, even if that meant playing with toy cars, on the floor, or soap bubbles, I actually felt more alive. At least once a month, I would arrange for childcare so I can get out into nature to decompress or go to a cafe to chill with friends. Some of you may find joining a mom's group helpful or some other interest groups. Parenting has many seasons. During infancy, we're naturally more stuck at home, as it were. But don't be in a hurry, that season is brief. Soon, you can take your children along with you or get them to do something while you enjoy your life-giving way. Now I need to ask you to think about this seriously. When we were swinging singles, perhaps parties and spas and vacations were our thing. Well, at different stages of our lives, we may need to discover other life-giving ways. So it's very important to also learn to be flexible. You have to be open. One of the most powerful lessons, in fact, that transformed me and really helped me to enjoy parenting as much as I do is this truth. Your children grow you. Just as you cannot get married and remain the same person, you cannot become a parent and stay the same. Life is always inviting us to grow. I still remember when my son was about 6, I took him to this huge machine and robots event. Tech isn't my thing. I do enjoy exploring new things and going out for new experiences. But this was amazing. We saw these strange machines that came all the way from the United Kingdom, and there was this competition like gladiators. These machines were fighting against each other, in an arena. I did not even know such a thing existed. We had such a good time. It's one of our best memories to this day. And it doesn't have to be big or fancy. With my daughter, we often did small things at home. Like we would water the one plant we had. We read books side by side. She didn't really know how to read at that time, so she just pretended. And even if it was just 10 minutes, it was so good. A life-giving way breathes life into us. Remember, we are not reaching for an oxygen mask. We are seeking to thrive. So a life-giving way cannot be something you grasp or grab. Rather, it's something you plan or something you allow to naturally happen in the course of your day. Like taking a pause and walking to the window to look at the sky and listen to the birds and watch the clouds as you take a few slow, deep breaths and give thanks. See what I did there? I combined the 3 practices: a life-giving way of taking a pause, moving towards nature, deep breathing to slow the heart rate and calm the mind, and gratitude to gain perspective. A life-giving way is a small thing each day and maybe something planned once a week or so. It must make you appreciate life and feel alive. I begin with this. But we are living beings, so I think let's end with this instead. Each time you see or think of a plant, take a cue from them. They thrive because they are grounded, they are hydrated, and they soak in the light. Your deep breaths ground you to the free gift of life. Gratitude hydrates your soul and keeps you tender. And as you incorporate life-giving ways, you are soaking up what lights you up. If you don't have green fingers, take a photo of a nice plant, frame it up, put it somewhere to remind yourself. Dear fellow parents, you are so important to your children and you are so valuable. Cherish yourself and allow your parenting to be a journey that grows you and helps you to thrive. Because as you do, your children will too. I have written a small book with 52 practical tips for you to raise happy kids. Tips that will work for children from 2 to 20. And these tips are based on evidence-based research that all children need 5 foundational things to become well-adjusted, resilient beings. So do check it out. Let your parenting journey, even though it is challenging and has no retirement, be a life you embrace and enjoy as you take care of yourself while at it, with the 3 simple practices of gratitude, deep breathing, and instilling life-giving ways into your routines. If you are keen to get off the rat race, look up my small community at www.tooreally.live and check out my other books. Now let's end with a simple exercise. I want you to sit in a relaxed manner and think of something you are grateful for. Perhaps I'm grateful I'm here at this ParentED Festival. Smile. Let's close our eyes together and take a slow, deep breath. Thank you and take care.